Shalom. This is Daniel Stern from the Netivyah Bible Instruction Ministry. We are here with Adi, who is a soldier in the IDF, who is right now home on medical leave, and we're going to ask him a few questions together. So first of all, Adi, can you please tell us a little about yourself?
All right, so my name is Adi Kotler. I'm 39 years old. I'm an Israeli lawyer. My profession is a lawyer. And like everybody else, in the 7th of October, I actually called to the military due to the emergency that happened to us. I'm in the combat engineering as a reserve soldier. I'm also, of course, married to Mariana, a Mexican. She's a Mexican, and I had two girls, Elia and Sarai.
Let me get this straight. You are not a soldier. You're not a career soldier. You're a lawyer.
Yeah, in Israel, most of the people after they finish the military in the age of 21 or 22, they go and do for their life. And if in any case of an emergency or a war like we have right now, many of them will leave what they do at the same moment and will join to the military as a reserve soldier. And you do that until more or less the age of 40, 43. You can also volunteer after that. And and basically that's what hundreds of thousands did in 7th of October.
So your unit, the combat engineering unit, the military engineering unit, is made up of reserve soldiers who have a civilian life, a family, a job, and on the 7th of October, after the horrible, horrible tragedy, massacre that the Hamas performed, were called up and donned their uniforms and transitioned from being civilians, from being a lawyer, to back into the army.
Yes, so basically in the 7th of October, I just wake up in the morning, it was like 7 a.m., opened my phone, and I saw this horrible, horrible news. And we live in a generation when you also have Telegram, and you can actually see these very graphic videos, even though me personally, I'm trying to avoid them, but it's very, very vivid. And I saw this terrible news arriving from everywhere, and it was very chaotic. You didn't know what exactly happened in that time, what is the scale of this massacre. You just saw all kind of civilians hijacked to Gaza, all kind of motorcycles, and people are dying everywhere. It really was a terrible, terrible moment. And then, very fast, I of course realized what it means and what it means for me and for hundreds of thousands more of people here, that we probably getting called for the reserve. And of course, me personally, I immediately told my wife, we need to prepare a bag. We need to 1 second understand what it means, because maybe it means that today I'm already gone, and we need to think how we're going to handle some of that. And later that day, I actually got the call, and I was very motivated and very, very with a lot of will to do that, since it was just terrible. You just cannot sit in your house watching these images and be, relaxed. You can't.
Of course. For evil to triumph, all that's necessary is for good people to do nothing. And all of us are mobilizing for this effort. But I have a question.
Of course.
We hear a lot about the lack of gear, about the soldiers who don't have Kevlar vests, who don't have helmets, who need underwear and socks. How is this possible?
Yeah. Well, first I will take your question as an opportunity to thank because what you said right now, many people that support us around the world, they heard that and they send a lot of gear and equipment, and we felt that and we appreciate that back then, and really I want to thank. Now, for your question, the military here recruit around of 370,000 people in a matter of days. When that happened, logistically and ammunition of that, you don't have everything necessary. The thought behind this is, first we need to have the people, the man force, and then we're going to complete what we are missing. So that's true. We were missing a lot of stuff. The military all the time says in that time, look, with time, we will give you everything you need. But underwear and all of that people need right now. They cannot wait 2 weeks. We had some kind of things we needed there when we didn't have. And also, let's say more military gear. Yes, it also was true that at least in this period of time, we were missing a lot of equipment that was necessary, like helmets and tactical stuff and upgrades for your weapons, like flashlights and all kind of things. And some of them I heard later that the military was providing, for sure for people that was entering to Gaza later in the ground operation we are doing there. But in the first weeks, yes, you felt a lot of things were missing. You can understand, since this is the biggest reserve recruit that ever happened, I think, in the last 30 years at least. And one of the side effects is a lack of gear, yes, definitely.
Taking you back to October 7th and the following days, did your unit enter operation immediately? Was there a period of training? How did it work? Of course, whatever you're not able to share, that is fine.
Okay, so the way it works, first of all, there is a lot of misknowledge and misinformation, and you really don't know what's going to happen next. The scene itself is very chaotic. Also, the people that arrived there, the soldiers that was arriving, you need to imagine the scene. 7 a.m., I'm waking up, I'm watching a video. A couple of hours later, I'm in the south in a base, shocked with many people in the same situation. So I believe that, the day looks very chaotic, and you don't know exactly what you're going to do. There are a lot of rumors. We're going to enter Gaza in 2 days. We're going to enter Gaza in 3 days. We're going to enter Gaza in 1 week. The plan says like this, or the plan says like that. Nobody really knows. It's a lot of chaos in the first days. I think, if I need to say, I will say my personal opinion. The military didn't know what he wants to do in the first days. Later, the strategy was more clear, and it was more easy to know where you're going. I think when I arrived, they told us, okay, 3 days you already will be in Gaza. And then it got postponed more and more and more. So we took advantage of that time to really train. My platoon, my unit did many trainings in that time. In this period of time, you wait between the moment you got recruited until the moment they enter to Gaza. So they took advantage for training, mostly. And complete equipment and gather equipment and stuff we are missing and all kind of stuff like that.
I'd like to ask some more general questions that relate to the geopolitical situation in the Middle East between Israel and the Arab nations, especially the Arab tribes that call themselves Palestinians. What are your thoughts on the claim that is made that Israel and the Jewish people have occupied, have settled, have taken the land from the Palestinians?
Well, obviously this claim is kind of ridiculous and not true. And we can take the example from Gaza right now, since in Gaza there are no Israelis or Jews or anything like that in the Gaza Strip. Actually, Israel evacuated the Gaza Strip in 2006. And since then there are no Jews there, so it cannot be occupied. So there is another claim that we are doing some kind of a siege on Gaza, and that's what causing their behavior or their hatred, which is also, again, not true and ridiculous, since they have also a border with Egypt, and all aid and supply and everything can come back from there, and they can go out and they can get in, and there are no siege practically. And also, of course, the rest of the territories here, Judea and Samaria and Israel itself, it cannot be occupied, since was no country that we took this land from. There was no country named Palestine in that time. Was no prime minister or president to Palestine. Was no Palestinian coin, etc. It's just a claim that is comfortable to say. It's many people believe that. Mm-hmm. That the evil Jews arrived and stole the Palestinian territory from the poor Palestinian, etc. More than that, the Palestinians themselves didn't call themselves Palestinians until 67. And the reason for that, it was because in that time, Jordan was the one occupying the territories in East Jerusalem and other parts. And under Jordan, they were feeling comfortable. They didn't have any problem. Only after the war, when we conquer back from Jordan these lands, suddenly they remember that they are Palestinians because now it's under Israeli government territory and not under Jordan. So these claims are just historically not true. And you define it very well by Arab tribes because that's what it is. You can see that even in the last names sometimes. For example, the most famous terrorist in Gaza, his name is Muhammad Def El-Masri. El-Masri, the Egyptian. Very simple. Masr in Arabic is Egypt. And Arab tribes, Arab names, many times they will have El-Baraghouti, El-Sudani, El-Khomene. In their last names, they will have the location that they come from. They are just not Palestinians. It's a very comfortable claim, but they use it against us on a daily basis, all the time.
You mentioned Jordan and the Jordanian rule of this area until 1967. That raises within me the question of the partition plan and the division that was brought up in 1947 by the British mandate in the United Nations, which suggested the division of what was known as Palestine based on the
Syria,
Roman
Palestine.
province of Israel Palestina, which included Transjordan, the eastern side of the Jordan River, and became the country of Jordan. From my understanding, there's a section of the tribe that call themselves today Palestinians living in Jordan, even a large section. Is there a reason why, and you mentioned the border between Gaza and Egypt, the Rafah border, is there a reason why Egypt and Jordan and other countries in the world, the 20-some Arab countries and 50-some Muslim countries,
22 Arab countries, as far as I know,
don't accept any refugees from any Arabs from the Gaza Strip to them? Is there a reason that they raise the issue of these refugees but don't do anything to help them? Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's an interesting question. Let's start by that. I really think that I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but it's very funny, and you can notice that everybody is worried and taking care for the poor Palestinians, donating them money and that, but they never want to take them in. I mean, all these countries you mentioned, Egypt, for example, it's a huge country. It's huge. It's 120 million people. I don't know how many square meters it is, but it's just a huge country. 1 million Palestinians, it's not what's going to matter to the demographic there, right? Still, the Egyptian president says yesterday or 2 days ago, he repeat this claim all the time, he will not take even single Palestinian.
Really?
Yeah, and the reason for that, I believe there are a few reasons, but first of all, he knows that if many Gazans, people from Gaza, war refugees, will leave the Gaza Strip and will go to Egypt to live there, it will kind of solve Israel's problem with Gaza. And he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that the Palestinians' problems will solve. The Palestinians are the champions, are the best in keeping this situation of being a refugee. There are just the generations of refugees over and over. I don't know if there is anything like that in the world. I mean, you are just stay a refugee. Your children are refugees. They grow up, and their children are becoming refugees as well. It's like everybody wants to preserve this problem the way it is, to freeze time, and keep this problem that way. And just imagine how much money the Palestinians, refugees, got as a donation from all the countries in the world. And many countries donate them billions of dollars so far. And you still see them, so excuse me?
I want to interrupt. Are you saying that the Arab tribes in Gaza, who call themselves Palestinians, are not poor and miserable, and they actually receive vast quantities of money from the United Nations and the European Union and the United States and the Qatar and the other Arab countries? Because from what I know, or from what the media tells me, they are destitute. They have nothing.
Well, the question is who is poor. There is no doubt, and cannot be doubt, that they get a lot of money. I mean, this is a fact, right? Everybody knows that Qatar donates millions of dollars. Everybody knows that the UN donates millions of dollars. Just now, they get a lot of money, and every time after a war happens or a conflict happens, they get donations to recover. The real question is where the money goes. And where the money goes is probably to build tunnels. You know, we're speaking about tunnels, 500 square meter, not square meter, sorry, 500 meters of tunnels, dig 70 meters deep in the ground. All
500 kilometers.
Kilometers, yes. I say, okay, 500 kilometers, yes. And dig 70, if you want to dig 70 meters inside the ground for tunnels, if you want to put concrete around, if you want to have an air system, all of this stuff costs a lot of money. You can probably know that part of the money that they get from for the donations goes there. Also, these people are living in all kinds, at least the leaders of Hamas that we know, like Khaled Mashal, Ismail Haniyeh, and all of these names, living luxury life in Qatar and all other countries, and they have their bank accounts are just full of money. You can see the Palestinian president, Abu Mazen, just open Google and look on his house. He has like a palace on a very pretty location in Ramallah.
So what you're saying is that the funds that are contributed towards bettering the lives of the civilians and non-combatants, towards education, sewage, and medical issues are being diverted to the terrorist organizations and their military uses and their leaders.
Yeah, and you can. I don't say that the people of Gaza are not poor. They are poor. You can see they live in poverty. It's not a lie, but it's also true that that at least their leaders or the organization that's supposed to take care of them, getting really huge amount of cash during the years, and that was supposed to aid them, the people of Gaza and the rest of the Arab tribes here, to recover from this situation and build themselves a better future. But they're never doing that. This money always go to all type of corruption system that they have there, or to terror, to fund terror. And that's quite clear since we see the system they built under Gaza. I don't know if there is something like that in the world, in all the world, such a system of tunnels with cooling and air conditioning and all of that, and you have enough space to drive with motorcycles there, and it's just crazy. You definitely need a lot of money for that. So
you mentioned the ongoing refugee status of the Arabs in Gaza and in the Judea and Samaria and in the countries around Israel, and for that matter in anywhere they go in the world, no matter how long they've lived there and how many generations they're there, they continue being recognized as refugees by UNRWA, which is the United Nations agent for Palestinian refugees, which is the only people group who has their own personal private refugee agency in the United Nations. All the other refugees in the world are all together in one agency, whether they're the Afghans that are currently being kicked out of Pakistan, 1.7 million, or whether it's the Indians that were kicked out of Pakistan, or the Pakistanis that were kicked out of India.
Or Darfurians, you have in South Darfur as well.
Or the Darfurians, or the Cypriots that were kicked out of North Cyprus, or the Ukrainians that went into Europe, and more and more and more. All of them, not only are they under one refugee agency, but they also do not remain refugees indefinitely. But these so-called Palestinians have their own special magical agency that does nothing for them, that does not help them and alleviate their problems. But I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is the source of these so-called refugees? Where are they refugees from? Why are they refugees?
Well, if we speak in history matters, at least as far as I know, many of them arrived in the end of the Ottoman Empire when they wanted to build trail racks and all of these kind of things. So they needed the labor force, and they had a job here. So these people arrived from the Arabia side and just settled here. Later, it was the British Empire that was here, and more Arabs from these areas arrived here and lived here. We are not speaking thousands of years back, so 5,000 years back, and all kind of these strange theories that are running around. Speaking maybe 150, 200 years back. And in some point, around 67, they decided that they are Palestinians, and since then they are Palestinians, and yeah. They opened a war against Israel in several occasions. When you lose a war, there is a price, and sometimes the price you pay is that you lose your home. And by the way, all the wars they open, there is no debate here. They started those wars, and when they lost territories to Israel in the end of these wars, they became refugees. But again, it's like refugees from where they live here. They don't have any legal claim, if you want to say, for this land. I mean, Israel was found by buying the land. We have Kakal, which is an organization that bought the land with money, with cash, from donation. So we have a legal claim on these lands. So
this is coming from a real estate lawyer.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. So we actually bought the land. We didn't conquer it. We have Baron Rothschild that was donating money for this. We have Kakal, that was an organization that does that. And so we bought the money here cash. We didn't conquer it. The Arabs that came here, that now they are refugees, they just saw a piece of land, they settled there, they see it. They didn't bought it from no one. And now one of the famous claims that they use right now when they go to the courts and says, okay, this land belongs to me and all of that, so they will show you something that's called some kind of a piece of paper that's called Kushan. And this Kushan is supposed to be something that the Ottoman Turkish Empire gave them for buying the land, like some kind of a proof that they bought the land. But this you can fake in Turkey right now. I mean, you can go to Turkey, you can pay cash, and somebody will give you Kushan, and like that. And it's very hard to prove.
So if I wanted to, for example, create a fake country called Danielistan, I could go to Turkey, pay some money for these Kushans, and then come back to Israel and go to court and claim that this land, which someone else lives on and someone else paid for and someone else owns, I could say that I am the original and legal owner of.
Yeah, so it's happened right now in a neighborhood that's called Sheikh Jarrah or Shimon HaTzadik, depend how you want to call it. And the stories there is quite similar. I mean, was Jewish residents here before the wars, was Jewish the residents that were living there, and the Jordanians, when they conquered it, the Jewish resident ran away. Then Israel conquered it back. Meanwhile, was Palestinians that were living in these houses. They never pay rent. They never bought it. They just took the houses that the Jews left in those neighborhoods. And now we can see a lot of discussions in the Israeli courts around this, because people that has a real proof that they bought these houses back then, Jewish ones, they arrive and they say, look, this house is mine. This person that lived there the last 50 or 60 years, this Arab family, they never bought this house. They never pay rent for this house. They don't have any concrete claim for own this territory. And lately, the last years, the Israeli court started to accept these kind of claims and evacuate these people from the house.
You mentioned that in recent years, the courts have been looking favorably towards starting to evict the illegal residents of the Jewish homes in Sheikh Jarrah in East Jerusalem. And this is a change from how it was. And I'm curious, what other changes do you feel specifically have come about as a result of the massacre that happened on Simchat Torah on October 7th?
Okay, so I think there is a big change in our population right now. Before we used to be on each other's throats, secular, religious, Orthodox, all these small camps we have here in Israel. We're fighting with each other about all kinds of matters. We have the legal reform we try to promote, the government try to promote. You could see many people that was resisting towards that. We had a lot of marches. During these marches, some people said that they will not join to the reserve, if someone will call them, which our enemies saw, and they heard that. And they thought that we are weak in this point as a result of this kind of argues that we had here on a daily basis. And this kind of invited this attack, right? I believe right now, at least how I see the things, it's now everybody is way more united. Everybody is way more together. I can tell you when I was preparing now to the entry to Gaza, we got many donations, a lot of help and food and many things. And you can see it's arrived from all the rainbow of Israel society. I mean, it was Orthodox that was helping us and donating. It was secular. It was people that lives in kibbutzes. It was even Jews. It was a little bit even of Muslims, Arabs that you can see here and there. They were giving their part. Of course, it's a minority, but you need to say it also that we saw. So it's kind of united us as people. The real question that we should ask, if it's going to stay like that, a period of time after this war will over and we will forget about it maybe, and if we will be smart enough to keep this unite situation the same.
But another thing that caught my attention was you talked about the internal conflict within the Israeli and Jewish society, or not even Jewish, the Israeli society, and that it is the Jewish sages talk about that internal conflict and hate is what caused the demise of the Second Temple and the Jewish rule in Israel. And we now were nearing the time frame that Jewish dynasties have lasted in this land, and we too were in a situation of internal conflict and strife. And as a result of this event on October 7th, we have found a new strength, a new unity between us. And like you, I hope that it continues. I would like to ask you to pray that this unity continues within the Israeli population. My final question is, what future do you see? And it's a two-part question. What future do you see for the Arabs in Gaza? What future do you see for the Arabs in Judea and Samaria? And finally, what future do you see for the Jews and Arabs in Israel? You mentioned that a few Muslim Arabs are mobilizing to help in this conflict, but what kind of future, if you dare prophesy, do you see in these three fields, in Gaza Strip, in Judea and Samaria, and within Israel with the demographic divide between Jews and Arabs?
Yeah, so we have a say in Hebrew that says the prophecies are for the fools. But I will try to I will just say my opinion and how I see the things. The future look, we need to understand, first of all, the neighborhood we are living. We are surrounded here.
Switzerland.
Yes, not necessarily, no. But so we live, we're surrounded by people that, the truth is, many of them do not want us here. If we can look north to the Lebanon border, we have Hezbollah, which is a very radical, no less than Hamas, religious group that will be happy to do the same thing that Hamas did 1 month back. We have next to it, a little bit more east, we have Syria. Same story, all kind of, you have Assad there, he has a military, he was threatening us many times before, when we had a war with Syria before. Jordan, officially we have peace, but it doesn't matter what you have officially, it matters how the people there feels towards you, and it's a very cold peace. I cannot walk around in Amman, or as a Jewish Israeli, I cannot just walk around in Amman and be safe. It's just impossible. The people here doesn't like us. Egypt, kind of the same story, even though Israelis sometimes like to go to Sinai and these kind of places. Still, it's dangerous, and the people there, the majority of them, they don't like Israel and they don't like the Jews here. And of course, we have Hamas, and we have Arabs inside our society, Israeli Arabs, and we have Palestinians. We have many threats, and we need to think about the future from this context, right? So after what Gaza did, Hamas did, but Hamas did that, and the people that in the day that happened, the people of Gaza were happy about it. You could just look at the street, and you can see them happy, giving candies, children, grown-ups, women, everybody was having a celebration in the streets, like, I don't know, like they, like really they were very happy of a massacre that Hamas performed on babies, on women, I just honestly will tell you, I don't know how you can see these images and be happy about it. And after they did that, it's hard to feel that they need to stay there. I will tell you the truth, because even if we will, let's say we will finish Hamas, and there is no more Hamas, but the population of 2 million people stays there. There is no guarantee that in 10 years I will not have a new Hamas in the name of ISIS or in the name of Jabhat al-Nusra, or all these kind of terror organization groups that they have different names but have the same agenda.
What is their agenda?
Of them? They all the time say from the river to the sea. And we need to take that, in my opinion, very seriously. Because what from the river, politician says to us, just have the two-state solution. But the people in the street, they don't want two states. They tell you from the river, from the Jordan River to the sea. The meaning is that all the Jews of Israel needs to happen to them what Hamas did to us in 7th of October. That's what it means. They don't want us here. This means the extermination of all of Israel. And they saying these phrases in all kind of marches they do in the United States, in Canada, in Europe. That's what they want, and they tell us that's what they want. We need to take it seriously.
That sounds a little bit like genocide.
If they could, I don't have a doubt. The only reason it doesn't happen, it's because they see that we have a strong military that right now working very good in Gaza, working very strong, and attacking these terrorists and finishing them like we should do. Other terror groups like Hezbollah that I mentioned before, they see that and it works. When they see that, they are scared. They say, okay, if we will now join to this fight, happen to us, we'll join to this war, Lebanon will look like Gaza. And that's kind of, making them less feel that they want to join. That doesn't mean that if they could, they wouldn't do that. I mean, if this massacre was really kind of collapsing Israel or make a strategic damage, it could encourage other groups like Hezbollah and all of that to join and try to collapse Israel totally. And then it will be a genocide, there is no doubt about it. Because we already saw they don't have a problem to massacre babies in their bed. They don't have a problem. They are proud of it. They don't apologize for it. I didn't saw any famous imam or religious or Muslim religious, let's say, leader that were saying that it was wrong. No, the opposite. You see happiness. You see people happy. You see people smiling. You see people laugh about our grief. You can see that in these marches. You see them in other countries when we put the kidnap pictures of the babies that were kidnapped. You see people arrive and tore down a picture of a baby. People like that will support genocide. There is no doubt about it. And we need, after we survive the Holocaust, after we survive the Inquisition, we need to take it seriously. We don't have the luxury to think that it will not happen to us. If they could, they will do it, and it's a situation that us or them.
Going back to the question about the future, you explained that we live in a very hostile, volatile neighborhood, surrounded by people who wish to see us exterminated, who would like to perform genocide on us. How do you see the future in Gaza? You said 10 years down the road, a new Hamas would come up because the citizens there, the civilians, the non-combatants, so to speak, would allow for such a thing to grow again.
So the only logical solution that I see that will be probably good with all the sides, and is these people, since they are calling themselves refugees and they have a refugee card and they have UNRWA that you mentioned earlier that's supporting them, to treat them like refugees. And refugees, war refugees, can go to someplace else. There is the border with Egypt that is closed because the President Sisi, the President of Egypt, doesn't want to open it. But it can be open. and we need it will be open. And these people that wants to go out, and there are hundreds of thousands of them, wants to go out to Egypt as a war refugees, and from there to Turkey or to Europe or to United States or to Canada or to other places. There are also countries that wants to accept them. For example, Ireland announced that they will be happy to receive war refugees from Gaza. If they're happy, and if the war refugees does not want to stay in Gaza, because not all of them are Hamas. I don't think all of them are Hamas. Some of them really wants to live without all of these wars. Some of them. Give them the option and let them go out and let them have a good life in other places. I don't have any will or any dream to kill all of them or to massacre all of them. We are not like that. But it's impossible to stay in the same situation that we were before, since it's obvious that it will happen to us again. Therefore, what you need to do is to open the border, let hundreds of thousands that interested. It's usually the young ones that actually wants to study, actually wants to develop, actually wants to live good life in other places. You should give them the options to do that. And for us, we need to take this territory, at least big parts of it, like it was before that we depart from there in 2006, and we should control it and have it in our own, under our control. In Judea and Samaria, I kind of think it will go to the same direction. It cannot be Gaza, since there the military acts every day. And we don't let it arrive to a scale like in Gaza. In Gaza, the military was not inside for more than 10 years. No, 10 years almost, in 2014. But the danger is coming from there the same way. I mean, you have cities like Tulkarem. It's a Palestinian city that sits on Road 6. Road 6 is the main highway of Israel. It actually goes from north to south. Who promised me that in 10 years it will not happen from Tulkarem, for example? They will just open the wall and will hijack people inside or do stuff like that. So therefore, it kind of seems that the solution is the same. People that are refugees and they have all kind of fantasies that they will live here instead of me from the river to the sea shouldn't be here. They should be in other places, in countries that they can live there. That's how I see their future. Since I don't see any kind of real solution like the two-state solution, I don't know how you can even believe that in this point. Who will do it? The president of the Palestinians, his name is Abu Mazen, as we all know. He's a dictator. Was no election since 2007, I think, in the Palestinian Authority. So I supposed to make some kind of a deal with a dictator or to give them a land. It obviously doesn't have any kind of serious intentions behind it. And therefore, the solution I said just now, I think it's the most practical and the most realistic one. Consider all the circumstances that we spoke before.
What about the Arab tribes who call themselves Palestinians who have Israeli citizenship? Many people talk about Israel as an apartheid state that treats different people groups in different ways with different rights. Do Israeli Arabs, are they discriminated against? And as a result of this event on October 7th, how do you see the future with the Israeli Arabs?
Okay, so it's a funny claim. I know this claim. It's a funny claim in a sense that apartheid, what it means is two sets of rules for different populations. It's a set of rules for white people and a different set of rules and laws for black people, right? So people that says that you have two sets of rules, one for Arabs and Israeli Arabs and one for Jews, it's just not true. And it's something that you can prove very easily. I mean, you can see Arabs in the Supreme Court. You can see Arab in our Knesset. You can see Arabs lawyers, Arab doctors, Arab that studies in our universities, Arabs that developing here and have a safe and good life, comparing to our other Arab countries like we talked before, like Jordan, Egypt, etc. So there are no apartheid, and I think everybody knows this. I mean, if there is some kind of a discrimination, maybe it's for the Jews, since I am obligated by law to go to the military in the age of 18, in the same time that an Arab Israeli that will arrive to this age of 18, he doesn't need to go to the military and spend there 3 years. He can actually study, he can actually work and earn money. As a soldier, you don't earn money, you earn a funny salary of, I don't remember, 1,500 shekels or so, something like this. Nothing that realistically worth anything. And those 3 years, Arabs, for example, can work. They don't have any obligations like we do. And they have another, there are all kind of things that is, for example, if you want to study, so they have a lot of, it's more easy for them to get to the university, the standards are different. And we are doing all of this to make them feel welcome and part of us. Unfortunately, after 7th of October, the Simchat Torah massacre, we saw many Israeli Arabs that, again, show kind of a happiness to what happened, kind of a feeling of happiness. They share all kind of support stories in their Instagram, in their Facebook. Many of them were happy. Some of them were doctors. I personally wanted to complain about a lawyer, excuse me, about a lawyer that she was happy, and she posted happy.
So she posted
blessing.
in support of
in
these
support.
massacres of terrorist organizations that are outlawed in most Western countries.
Exactly, and she got banned from the Israeli by the Israeli bar of lawyers. But still, you can see this quite often, and that shows where their heart really is. It makes you the feeling like, all right, in the second I will be weak, and they will just join to this Hamas group in order to eliminate us. And this is a question where our future goes together, since again, these people, you cannot let them live here waiting for the moment you will not be here. It's a big problem. I don't know if there is a solution for that. Of course, I don't want to discriminate them in a way of laws, especially for them. We cannot do. It will be terrible. But maybe we should fight stronger with all kind of this kind of behaviors that before we used to, let it happen, let it slide. Maybe we should have more strong laws against it, and with bigger punishments. That if you support Hamas, you might find yourself in jail for many years. Or if you really want to fight for Hamas so hard, so you can lose your citizenship and you can be in Gaza then. Or solutions that are more hardcore, let's say. Because in this situation, again, we cannot continue with kind of spies that are just give you the feeling that they are just waiting for the moment that you will lose a war.
If I understand what you're saying is, as mentioned earlier, our neighborhood is not Western Europe. Our neighbors are not Switzerland, and we're the only democracy in the Middle East, and it's time to start acting as a defensive democracy.
Defensive democracy, yes.
Protects itself in order to stay a free, democratic, life-loving, equal country. 100%
yes. Yes, we want to stay democracy, and it's definitely a threat on our democracy. And it's kind of taking, these people are kind of taking advantage of the weaknesses of our democracy in order to push their agenda. It's not only Israel. You can see that in other countries as well. If we take United States as examples, you can see, and I don't want to get too much politics here, but you can see the Democratic Party, you have people like Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib, that she's a Palestinian herself, and they kind of doing the same thing. They are pushing lies non-stop and 24/7. They use their political power for that. We can take example from after 2 weeks after the war started. So there was this issue that Israel bombed a hospital, and in the end, everybody found out that it was a missile that Hamas shot that didn't function well and fall on the hospital. She was pushing this lie over and over and over until the truth got revealed. And then she didn't even say sorry or anything else, didn't clear the things. She just kept that way. And it's kind of taking advantage of the democracy, since you don't need to take responsibility of everything you say. You can just incite, tell lies, do whatever you want, and there is no price you need to pay for it.
There's no personal accountability.
Exactly. You can just, and it has results. When someone from the American Senate pushes this kind of lies, and doesn't, and when it's revealed to be a lie, nothing happens. So I see it as a weakness in democracy. It's kind of, you need to do something against this. And I believe really this method that those people using against us right now will happen more and more in Western countries as well. And you can start to see a glimpse of that, of all kinds of countries that they have already Arab Muslim minorities in them. And later they get into the parliament and all of that. And they use the same method. They take advantage of the democracy. They do it in more nice way not to scare the people that listens to them. But they definitely take advantage of it. And if the democracies in the West will not learn to protect themselves from this method, it will bite them, and it will be really too bad.
That is certainly a very large topic that we can expand upon in another session. The invasion of Muslims into Western Europe, their attempts and desires to enforce Sharia law and its effect on countries such as France and England and Sweden. But I don't think we have time for that in this session, nor is it our main focus. But I do want to point out, as you mentioned as well, that some Arab Muslims are mobilizing and are against the Hamas. We need to stand on the side of humanity, on the side of right, and on the side of light.
Definitely.
Adi, thank you very, very much for this time.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it very much.
No problem.
God bless you and protect you and all of our soldiers.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.